Inside the bright, echoing cafeteria of Jefferson Elementary, the noise of casual chatter, rustling papers, and anxious small talk filled the air. Parents leaned over tiny tables, whispering about test scores and extracurriculars. But when Michael Granger, a 38-year-old single father, stepped through the door holding the delicate hand of his daughter Lily, a hush fell over the crowd like a blanket dropped mid-sentence. People turned their heads. A few murmured under their breath, "He's alone again." Michael kept his posture straight, squaring his shoulders, doing his best to appear calm, even as his chest tightened. All he had wanted that evening was a simple update about Lily, his bright-eyed, soft-spoken 8-year-old, who never went anywhere without her worn sketchpad tucked beneath her arm. Michael was exhausted. That week, he had clocked in over 90 hours, working as an auto tech by day and driving deliveries at night just to keep the lights on. His sleep came in short bursts, never more than a few hours at a time. But despite everything he always came. "Mr. Granger?" called Miss Preston, Lily's second-grade teacher, her voice just barely rising above the background buzz. She stood at the front of the room, her hands trembling ever so slightly as she held up a colorful sheet of paper. "Would you mind stepping over for a moment?" Michael hesitated. Lily clutched his hand tighter, then leaned toward him and whispered, "It's okay, Daddy." As they walked toward the front, every eye in the room followed them. Miss Preston unfolded Lily's drawing and held it up for all to see. Unlike the other kids' artwork, smiling suns, castles, stick-figure families under rainbows, Lily's picture showed something different. She had drawn herself standing beside her father in front of a small auto repair shop. His arms were smudged with grease, a wrench in one hand. In her other, she held a sandwich, cut in two, half clearly meant for him. The title, written carefully across the top in crayon, simply read, "My Hero." Ms. Preston's voice wavered as she continued. "In my 23 years of teaching, I've never seen anything quite like this." Her voice cracked. Lily didn't draw a princess or a fairy tale. She drew her real-life hero. Her dad. Michael stood frozen, unsure if he should smile or cry. He felt his throat tighten as the eyes of the room began to soften. A few parents looked away, ashamed of their earlier whispers. Ms. Preston took a breath, then added, "When I asked Lily what she would wish for, if she could have just one magical wish, do you know what she said?" Michael glanced down at his daughter, who now looked up at him with quiet, unwavering love. "She said," the teacher continued, "I wish my dad could finally get a good night's sleep." A silence fell over the room so thick you could hear the buzz of the overhead lights. Even the parents who had scoffed at Michael's worn work boots and oil-stained jeans now sat quietly, their faces unreadable. Then, from the back of the room, Mr. Denvers, a gray-haired parent who had been mostly silent all night, cleared his throat. That's something, Mike. Not many kids would say that about their parents. You've got something special there." Michael tried to respond, but his voice caught. After a moment, he managed, "I'm just doing what any father should." The teacher stepped forward again, her expression shifting from emotional to purposeful. "There's one more thing," she said gently, reaching across the desk to grab a sealed envelope. "Mr. Granger, this isn't something I normally do at a parent-teacher meeting. But I think you deserve to open this." Michael looked at the envelope as though it were made of glass and might break from a breath. Lily clung to his arm like a vine, sensing the weight in the air. "What's in there, Daddy?" she whispered. "I'm not sure, sweetheart," he replied, though his voice betrayed his nerves. He slid a calloused thumb under the flap, careful not to tear the paper. Inside was a letter, written in careful, looping penmanship. He began to read silently. The first line hit like a wave. "Mr. Granger, I have watched Lily grow and blossom this year. She is curious, kind, and full of light. But I can see the toll that your exhaustion is taking on her. No child should worry whether their parent will have the strength to wake up tomorrow. You may not see it, but you are raising her with more devotion and sacrifice than most families combined." Michael blinked hard, trying to stay composed. "That's why I've nominated her for the Monroe County Opportunity Scholarship, a fully funded academic program. It includes private tutoring, mentorship, access to enrichment resources, and a chance at a future she might not otherwise have. He read the words again to make sure he wasn't dreaming. A scholarship? For Lily? Ms. Preston nodded softly, confirming his disbelief. It's highly competitive. I wasn't supposed to say anything yet. But the essay Lily wrote, it was about you. And it moved us all. Michael's knees felt weak. All he could do was kneel and hold Lily close, kissing the top of her head while she whispered, "You're my hero, Daddy." Across the room, other parents began clapping, quietly at first, then stronger. Not out of pity but out of respect. For a man who carried the weight of the world on sore shoulders. For a daughter who saw beyond dirty hands and sleepless nights, and found love that no castle, no crown, could ever replace. A woman in a pearl necklace leaned close to her husband and whispered, She wrote about her father. Michael Granger stood frozen. His chest felt like it carried 1,000 pounds, and his throat clenched as though held shut by invisible hands. He blinked several times, but the tears still burned, pushing their way forward. Beside him, Lily tugged gently at his sleeve. Her wide eyes shimmered. Does this mean I can finally get real art books, Daddy? Like the ones I always talk about? Michael dropped to one knee, his rough hand trembling as he brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. Yes, sweetheart. Real books. The kind you've been dreaming about. Miss Preston placed a soft hand on his shoulder. Her voice was low and kind. Michael, I see you every morning. Dropping her off with those dark circles under your eyes, always rushing to the shop. You never complain, but Lily, she notices. Michael's face flushed with guilt, a hot stab of shame punching him in the gut. But then came something stronger, pride. Because Lily never felt embarrassed by him. She admired him. She was proud of him. From the back of the room, a tall man in a perfectly pressed navy suit let out a sharp scoff. So what? A scholarship doesn't erase the fact that he's scraping by. One free ride doesn't fix a whole life. Michael turned toward the man, jaw tight, teeth grinding. He wanted to snap back, to say that some people measure wealth in love, not in dollar signs. But before he could speak, Ms. Preston's eyes flared. You're wrong, she said, her voice clear and unwavering. Because sometimes one opportunity is enough. And when you give that opportunity to the right child, with the right parent beside them, it changes everything. Those words hit Michael harder than any insult. For the first time in what felt like years, he saw a door swing open for Lily. A door he had long believed was bolted shut by life's cruel math. From the corner of the room, Principal Weller, who had been quiet until now, cleared his throat and stepped forward. Mr. Granger, he said, adjusting his glasses with slow precision, I'd like to add something. His face was unreadable, his tone calm. We've been discussing forming a parent advisory board, someone to represent working-class families in our district. Too often, only the wealthy have a voice. Would you consider joining? Michael blinked in disbelief. Me? His voice cracked. Sir, I'm just a mechanic. Weller shook his head. No. You're a father who shows up. That's what matters. Your perspective is exactly what this school needs. Beside him, Lily slid her hand into his. You'd be a superhero for the grown-ups, Daddy, she said with a smile. The room erupted in light laughter, not mocking but genuine. Michael's face flushed, but something deep inside began to shift. For years, he had walked into classrooms feeling small, out of place, judged. But tonight, under harsh fluorescent lights, gripping his daughter's hand, he felt anchored. Not twisted up inside. Because opportunity often comes with fear. Fear of failing, of letting her down, of not living up to the trust placed in him. When the meeting finally ended and most of the parents trickled out, Ms. Preston approached him quietly. Michael, there's something else. He instinctively braced himself. She held out a second envelope, thicker than the first. This one is from the Parent Association Fund. We raised money this year to support families in need. It's not much, but maybe it'll help lighten the load. Michael opened the envelope slowly. Inside were several grocery gift cards, gas vouchers, and even a prepaid clothing store card. I can't, he whispered, the words barely audible. His pride collapsed under the flood of unexpected relief. Yes, you can, Ms. Preston said firmly. Because this isn't charity, it's acknowledgement. You've given Lily something no money can buy, unshakable love and resilience. Let us give you both the chance to breathe. His hands shook as he clutched the envelope, wanting to protest, but the hope in Lily's eyes silenced him. Does this mean no more skipping dinner? She asked softly. That did it. Something inside Michael shattered. He pulled her into a hug, pressing her tightly against his chest. His voice was muffled in her hair. No more skip dinners, baby. I promise. Behind them, a few of the same parents who had once whispered behind his back now stood quietly, some looking down in guilt, others in admiration. They weren't looking at a man beaten down by life. They were seeing a father towering above them all, not through status or wealth, but through the depth of his devotion. As Michael stepped outside into the crisp night air, the cool wind brushed his face. And that was when he felt it. Something real. For years, he had believed that a man's worth was measured by how much he could earn, how much he could give in dollars. But tonight, Lily had reminded him of something much deeper. His true worth was in the love he gave, in the meals he skipped, in the exhaustion he bore without complaint, in every scraped hand and sleepless night. And for the first time in a very long while, Michael wasn't breathless from exhaustion. He was breathless from hope. What Michael Granger did not realize was that the night's biggest surprise still waited in the shadows. Because someone in that room, someone with far more influence than he could have imagined, had been listening carefully. And they were far from done with Michael Granger. The night air was crisp as he walked the dim sidewalk, Lily's small backpack slung over one shoulder, her tiny hand nestled in his calloused one. His boots scraped softly against the pavement, each step still echoing with the weight of the scholarship letter and the overwhelming kindness he'd received earlier. For the first time in months, his chest did not feel like it was bearing down on itself. But just as they reached his dented old pickup, a voice called out behind him. Mr. Granger? Michael turned around slowly. It was the sharply dressed man from the parent meeting, the same one who had made that smug remark earlier. He was walking toward them now, polished shoes clacking against the concrete. Michael tensed, bracing for more condescension. But instead, the man extended his hand. Name's Richard Collins, he said. And, well, I owe you an apology. Michael hesitated, then took the handshake, confused. Why? He asked plainly. Richard cleared his throat, his voice lowering as if suddenly unsure. I've got 2 kids at this school. I throw money at them, tutors, music lessons, anything I think will give them an edge. But hearing your daughter talk about you tonight, he paused. I realized something. You can't buy that kind of loyalty. That kind of love. Michael blinked, stunned. I'm just trying to keep us afloat. No, Richard replied firmly. You're doing more than that. You show up. Every single time. That matters more than people realize. Before Michael could respond, Richard pulled a business card from his coat pocket. I run a small logistics firm. We're looking for someone to maintain our fleet. It's a full-time role, steady hours, good pay, full health coverage. I don't know if you'd be interested, but I'd like you to consider it. Michael froze. The card trembled in his fingers. Why me? He asked. Richard gave a small, sheepish smile. Because tonight I saw a man who doesn't quit. That's the kind of person I want on my team. Lily tugged at her father's sleeve, her eyes hopeful. Daddy, does this mean you could come home for dinner more? Michael knelt down to her level, gently brushing a lock of hair from her face. Maybe, baby. Maybe. He slipped the card into his pocket, afraid to believe it just yet. But something about the moment, the offer, the possibility, made his heart pound in a way he had not felt in years. The following week, life for Michael did not change overnight, but the shift was undeniable. Lily came home every day brimming with stories about her scholarship, new art supplies, fresh books, a spark of hope in her voice that hadn't been there before. And though Michael still rose early to head to the garage, the offer from Richard lingered in his mind like a lighthouse through fog. Then, one late evening, while he was tightening a bolt beneath the coughing engine of an old van, his phone buzzed beside him. A new email. It was from Richard. A formal job offer. The salary was triple what he made now. full health benefits, paid vacation, a schedule that actually let him be home in the evenings. Michael sat there in silence, the words on the screen blurring behind stinging tears. He thought back to Lily's wish in her essay. I just want my dad to get a full night's sleep. And for the first time in years, that dream felt possible. 2 weeks later, Michael walked into another parent meeting, this time for a mid-semester update. He wore a crisp, freshly pressed shirt. His boots were still old, but they had been polished to a shine. Beside him, Lily skipped down the hallway with a confidence that lit up the corridor. This time, there were no whispers. Instead, parents nodded, some even offering genuine smiles. Across the room, Ms. Preston caught his eye, her face softening with quiet pride. Mr. Granger, she said warmly, I heard congratulations are in order. Michael scratched the back of his neck. News travels fast, huh? She chuckled. It sure does. Lily was practically glowing last week when she told me you've been going to bed at a normal hour. And she was serious. Michael's chest tightened again, but not from stress. This time, it was gratitude. Later that night, as the meeting wrapped up, Lily tugged at his hand again. Daddy, can we go get ice cream? You're not working tonight, are you? Michael dropped to one knee again, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. No, baby. I'm not working tonight. The words still felt foreign on his tongue. But oh, how sweet they were. They walked out beneath the warm glow of the street lamps, their laughter bouncing off the sidewalk. This night didn't weigh them down. This night belonged to them. But their story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because one small act of kindness, Ms. Preston's nomination, the support from the parent council, Richard's offer, had sparked something bigger. Michael realized the world wasn't always cold. Sometimes, it reached back when you least expected it. And Lily, who once wished only for her dad to rest, now dreamed of something greater, to one day give back the way her school and teacher gave to her. Michael held her hand a little tighter. There was no need to speak. The promise was there, loud and clear. They weren't surviving anymore. They were building something. And for the first time in years, Michael Granger wasn't breathless from fear. He was breathless from possibility. That night, as Lily fell asleep hugging her sketchbook to her chest, Michael sat by the window, looking up at the stars. He whispered under his breath, not quite believing the words as they left his lips. We did it, baby. We actually did it. If this story touched your heart even just a little, hit that like button to show some love. Subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one, and let us know in the comments. What would your child draw if they had to show who their hero is?